It's amazing. There's 4,000 plus franchisors to choose from. How many of them, though, they have a mission that's making a difference in people's lives? Not many of them. It's pretty easy to say why somebody would want to be a franchise owner of Fundraising University. What are the right kind of traits, though? I want to know, like, who are you looking for? Like, who's that ideal franchise owner? What are some of the traits they need to have? Certainly somebody that needs to get out of their house and they need to talk with people, right? I mean, that's key. But I want to kind of get understanding of, like, what are those traits that really I want somebody to hear and go, yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 5 key characteristics that we're constantly evaluating our candidates, because we know if they exist, that success will exist for them. And that's our responsibility. So we've narrowed that down to number 1, you nailed it, right? Like, any business owner has to be a self-starter. It has to start with them, and they have to be organized, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be coachable. You're buying a system that's coaching you. And then for us, these two are the really kind of the kind of contrast that we're evaluating all the time. Like, you have to have a high level of empathy, right? Because you're working with kids in schools and they need to see that from you. But you also have to be, and this is my favorite one, it might be my favorite word, and it's definitely the disease that I have. You have got to be so competitive to be in our group that you will just be uncomfortable even being on a conference call if you're not competitive in our group. And we have former NFL players, Major League Baseball players, college AD, Power 5 coaches, entrepreneurs and business owners and top-level salespeople that are elite. And our number one thing that I'm looking for constantly is competitiveness, because to me, competitiveness solves almost everything.
Hunger, to me, is the number one trait you need to be successful, because hunger gets you through the bad days, the bad weeks, the bad months, and sometimes a bad year, mm-hmm. right? If you're not hungry, you're not going to survive. Incredible. That's why so many businesses fail. That's beautiful. And, who would think that you would need this competitive spirit? Because you're doing fundraising. You think you're doing good. But if somebody thinks I'm just doing good and they think that the business is going to fall their way, that's not the way it works, right? You got to be out there. You got to hustle. You got to be willing to talk with people. And you're going to get no sometimes too, right? Not everybody's going to say yes, I would imagine.
And everybody's not for us either, too. Again, because it's a performance-based service, like we have to spend the time where people align with, that system. And it's okay that if they don't, we need to help them find the right place for them. Maybe it's a bake sale, or maybe it's, pull everybody to the restaurant and get 10% for 40 hours of their time. But, they've got to fit us too.
Yeah. Is your franchise opportunity strictly full-time, or is it more part-time available, an option for people?
Yeah, it's a great, I think a lot of brands struggle with their identity on what that is, right? And the real answer is, Frank, that we didn't know what that really meant until we interacted with it, right? Because you could say you're owner-operator. You could say you could be semi-absentee, right? But how do you really know that until somebody operates in those? Like, for people that define those in advance they must be a lot smarter than me if they know that before they had experience with it. And so we actually can say, after, lots of learning, intentional learning and grace with others, that we operate both. Now, to your earlier question, that skill set, that mindset, really, the mindset is very different between the owner operator and the semi-absentee person. The owner operator is the doer, the controller. Everything starts with me. I'm going to define my worth. That one's a more frequent one that we find for our first time entrepreneurs. But then this owner operator, is got a different skill set, right? And a different mindset. And so we have some of those. We're really intentional about how those should be. But like, for an example, we have a gentleman named David who has bought 10 locations. Well, he's grown a business from 500,000 to 300 million. So we felt like he was qualified to say he could do that, right? And so, he wants to lead. His purpose now is making other people become business owners. So he has that time and skill set. And so we are semi-absentee and we are owner operator. We have had people come into the business and they fear leaving where they're at to be an owner operator, and they try to do both. And that's where we've seen some of our struggles. It's to try to be all things to all people and with good intentions and end up nothing to nobody struggle.
I agree. Yeah. The old phrase I've heard is when you try to be everything to everybody, you focus on nothing, right? You can't be. You really have to hone in on it. So what does, how elaborate is training? What does training look like? I understand you've got this quick turnaround. I've got some notes here on it, but it's incredible how quick you get people up and running. Share a little bit about what it takes for somebody to get started and how quick they're getting up and running.
Yeah. It's a testament to those 4 years of pre-scale activity, right? Like, and we segmented development, and we're really lucky. And I really think it's the thing we do best, to be honest with you, is coaching, right? Because, I'm a coach first and foremost. We have the mental performance coach for the Atlanta Braves, which is part of our development team. We have a guy named Brian Kane. You can look him up. He's worked with over 1,000 athletes, Kyler Murray, George St. Pierre. We have Michael Effinger, who is the preeminent trainer. And you go through the 10 people that we have, and all of them are involved in the onboarding. All of them are in the training. And we can be successful because we can focus on just sales for 60 days before we allow ourselves to actually run the fundraiser. So really, we're onboarding them for 180 days, about 400 hours, but they're an intentional progression, much like you may see the minor league baseball system. They're going to come into A ball. They're going to master this before they go to high A. And I think our intuitiveness to coach allows that. And, quite frankly, from the non-developmental but business side of that, is the model is so simple, right? You get out of you get up in the morning, you get in your car, you drive to a school. They say, I want to do a fundraiser. And literally that same day you could run a fundraiser. We actually had that happen. I even fearful saying this, that this is a normal. So I want to say that this is not normal.
Okay.
But we actually had somebody on the 4th day run their first fundraiser, and they generated $26,000 in gross sales for this cheer team. And they had a 30% EBITDA on that. And that was on the 4th day.
Wow. So your franchisees obviously you're making a cut off the fundraising. That's how they're generating money.
Yeah. They're operating at an EBITDA that would be very advanced, a very advanced EBITDA for the franchise space with a very low cost and a very quick turnaround. And so we're taking an average of about 2022 average. Our gross sale is around $13,000 a fundraiser, and most of our owners are operating at a higher than 25% EBITDA.
Tell me a little bit about training now. Your support, your team. How big is this team that you have now with 70, 80 total locations, including company owned? What does that look like? So your corporate staff.
We've got 10 support people. We're always going to be keeping about a 1-to-10 ratio. We've got some, as technology and all of us know that evolves, that we're very conscious of the evolution of that with the human capital, responsibility with people. And so the onboarding training is they go through a pre-training period where we actually, in our ERP, we have an LMS system that they're going to take about 40 hours of just baseline educational development. And then they go into what we call an intensive training period where they're going to come down to Scottsdale, Arizona, and they're going to get about 40 hours of in-person training. And then they're going to have week 3, a team leader go into their territory with them, and they're going to evaluate, the translation of those teachings into a tangible evaluation of them while we're also modeling that for a couple weeks. And then on the 60th day, they come out to us. And so there's an interwoven 30 days with our trainer, and that's our rookie training. And then we have those developmental folks that take them through different progressions during those 180 days. And our goal is that 180 days that which is very rare in business, but too many times expected. We're hoping on that 7th month that they're actually profitable.
I'm sorry. How long? How many months was that?
The 7th month, our goal is to have them profitable.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.